Hey Kelsey, this is Jared. Just giving you a little bit of feedback on your lesson from Wednesday night, and I got to say this was a fantastic lesson. I mean, I think your pacing was right on. I think it was engaging throughout. I really think you did a fantastic job on it. And so I'll just kind of move through each kind of phase or element of the lesson plan and just give you some of the comments I wrote down as I was observing in the back. Beginning with your learning objectives, I just love how you made the decision to use student-friendly language rather than the student will be able to identify a clause. You say, I can identify a clause. And I do think that's powerful. I think it's powerful for students if they see that on the board as they walk into the classroom and they kind of take it to heart, they make it personal to them. I think that's just a simple but powerful way of sort of encouraging students to take ownership of their own learning. So we move into your anticipatory set. I timed you on this activity at 1 minute and 45 seconds. And I think this was everything an anticipatory set or engagement experience ought to be. You really worked up students' anxiety and engagement and what is inside this box. I didn't quite understand the question you were asking. Is it a phrase or is it a clause or what does that even mean? But what I like about it is you created a tension that then you wrapped up in the closure section. So it kind of creates a nice bookend to your lesson, makes it this whole complete unit that I thought was really, really powerful. So there again, 1 minute 45 seconds. Probably didn't need to go any longer with that. I think it did its job. It got us excited about it. And then you moved into the direct instruction. And so for the direct instruction section, this was a little bit longer, which is okay. Oftentimes this is one of your longer segments because you're reviewing in some cases prior learning, and then you're also exposing students to some new concepts. But I thought you did a nice job with this. I thought the visual with the claw that kind of came out at the end of it was really helpful. The only thing that I might recommend or suggest, it was around 7 minutes, which isn't a huge length of time, especially for college students. But you might consider some type of graphic organizer, some type of closed notes, and I'm trying to remember, I think you provided some paper, but something to kind of focus students' attention during this phase, because you're going through things on the board, and it was well done. I don't think it was overdone, using the smartboard or the PowerPoints, but just even leaving some blanks in a note sheet encourages student participation, even if they're not speaking, to participate intellectually by writing things down a little bit. So that might be something to consider in the future for that segment. And then we got into the activity, which I thought was well planned also. That took about 5 minutes, which I thought was a nice length of time for that, giving some students something to do with tactile, moving words and phrases and clauses around a little bit. When we got to that closure, really kind of sped through that. It only took you 30 seconds. I find that closure is often that segment of the lesson we're always under time constraints. Although this lesson was in the parameters of 15 minutes, that's very different than a 50-minute class period. But what I find is that oftentimes we know what our time period is, whether it's 15 or 30 or 50 minutes, whatever class period is, and all of these segments increase respectively, and oftentimes closure is the one that's always cut or kind of forgotten or just sort of quickly hey, write this down, and then overlooked. And so I do encourage you in the future, as you're working through student teaching, you just try to make that closure experience what it's supposed to be, an opportunity for students to kind of wrap up the learning that they've acquired that day and the experiences they've had, kind of reflect on the anticipatory set and everything that they've worked through, and give them ample time to do that before announcements or the bell rings or whatever the case might be. But all things considered, Kelsey, this was a phenomenal lesson, and I look forward to hearing how things go the rest of the semester, student teaching, and so on and so forth. So don't be a stranger, and good luck with all that you are doing.